welcome back to B.HookedCrochet.com. I'm your host Brittany. In this tutorial I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet the basket weave stitch. This stitch is really great for blankets, but you can actually use it for various different types of projects. You can work it as a flat piece and you can work it in the round. For this demonstration I'm going to be using a worsted weight yarn and a size 5mm hook. However, you can use whatever yarn and whatever hook size that coordinates with your yarn. To begin the basket weave pattern, we need to first create a slip knot, and we need to make a chain that is any multiple of 8. So for this little practice swatch, I'm going to chain 24. However, you can chain as many as either your pattern calls for or however wide or long you want your project to be. Once you've made the number of chains that you need for your project, in my case 24, we're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work into this 4th chain here. And this foundation row is actually quite simple. We're just going to make 1 double crochet into every chain. Once you've reached the end of your row, we're going to start on the actual pattern part now of the basket weave stitch. We want to chain 2 and turn our work. And now we're going to be working with post double crochet, specifically the front post and the back post double crochet for this pattern. And we're going to be alternating them, and that's what's going to create the basket weave effect. So we need to locate the 2nd stitch here. So we're not actually going to be working in the very first double crochet here because that's going to be kind of like the edge of our work. So we need to find that 2nd double crochet. We'll just yarn over like we normally do, and instead of working into the stitch up here like we normally would, like we're used to doing, we are going to put this in between those first 2 double crochet. So I'm just putting it directly into that open space, and then I'm going to come back out the other side. So what I've done is I've caught that post there around my hook, and then we want to finish the double crochet. So I'm yarning over and pull up your loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2 and pull through 2. So that part is normal, we're used to that. So let's try that one more time. We'll find our next double crochet stitch, so you can see that right here. I'm going to yarn over and then just go into that space and come out the other side. So I'm just going underneath that double crochet, and then I'm going to finish. And we call this one the front post double crochet because we're pulling it in through the front of our work. And as you can see, it creates this really cool, almost like a ribbing sort of effect, and you actually do use this in other ribbed stitches. So we'll locate that next double crochet, just hook that post and finish your double crochet. Now we want 4 of these, so we've got 3 front post double crochets. Now we're just going to work on this last one here. Okay, there we've got half of our pattern situated, and the next stitch that we're going to do is a back post double crochet, and it is the exact reverse of what we were just doing, and this one's a little bit more awkward, especially if you've never done it before. So we want to yarn over again, and we're going to come in through the back side. So we're going to be hooking the post just like we did before, but we're coming in from the other direction. So I'm just wrapping my hook around, putting it in between those stitches, and then coming back out. So there you see I've hooked that post just through the back side of the work. Then you'll just yarn over, pull up a loop, and finish your double crochet. And that gives you a completely different effect. Basically what that does is pull the braided edge from the top portion of the stitches. It pulls that down, so then you actually see this braided edge and it looks pretty cool. So let's try that again. We're going to come in from the back side, take it around, come back out the other side of that post, and double crochet. We want to have 4 of these as well. Okay, so when you've got that out of the way, then we have our repeat. We're just going to start over with these front post double crochets, and we're going to make 4 of them. And we're just going to do that, make 4 front post double crochets. And now we'll start over again with the back post double crochets, and again we want 4 of those. Now 4 front post double crochets. And one thing that you want to be aware of is when you're transitioning from these front posts to back posts, sometimes it's really easy to actually work into the incorrect stitch. So until you get used to the pattern, you may actually have to count the stitches so you know that you're not going to be putting 2 stitches in the same. So like you don't want to work in this double crochet right here because that's where the back post is coming out of. So if you do that, then your stitch count is going to be off when you reach the end of your project. And that can be pretty disastrous if you're working on a blanket where you've got several chains and then you don't realize it until the very end when you have an incorrect number of chains left to work into. When you've reached the end of row 2, we need to make a half double crochet into this 3rd chain from our chain 3 that we have left over for this row. So we just yarn over, insert your hook into that top chain, and just half double crochet. Now that finishes off row 2. To begin row 3, we want to chain 2, turn our work, and now to maintain the basket weave pattern, instead of making front post double crochets in the first 4 like we did in the last row, we're actually going to reverse that. We want to do 4 back post double crochets, and that's going to maintain the pattern on the right side of our work. So we'll just back post double crochet into those first 4 stitches. Now we can front post double crochet into these 4 front post double crochets here. So basically, to say it in a way that makes more sense, for 4 rows of the repeat, we're going to make front post double crochets in all of the front post double crochets. and back post double crochets in all of the back post double crochets. Okay, so with that finished, we're going to make 4 back posts into these 4 back post doubles. Now we'll make 4 front post double crochets into the next 4. Now we'll make 4 front post double crochets. And now the last 4 we'll make back post double crochets. Okay, and again we're left with this chain here, so we want to half double crochet into that very top chain to finish off row 3. For row 4, we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and now we're set up to do the exact same thing that we did for row 2. We'll have 4 front post, 4 back post, 4 front, 4 back, and so on until you've reached the end. Okay, and to finish off row 4, we want to make a half double crochet again into that top chain. Now we're ready to continue. To begin row 5, we want to chain 2 again and turn your work. Now what we're doing for row 5 is we are transitioning our basket weave pattern, and it's a little bit hard to visualize at this point because we don't have much to look at here. So basically what we're going to be doing is do the opposite of what we have been doing. So I told you to always back post into the back post double crochets and front post into the front post doubles. Well, this row is the exception. In this instance, we're going to reverse that. We're going to make a front post double crochet into all the back post and a back post into all the front post. So if you're not confused yet, let's just go ahead and start working on it, and I promise you it'll get much easier once you have more work and you can actually visualize your pattern. It'll make sense to see what we're transitioning. So we just want to find that first stitch there, and we're working front post doubles just like we have been. This particular row it's a little bit more tricky because the posts look a little bit different, so they might be troublesome for you to see, but just work it the best you can. Okay, so it should look something like that. And now we will back post into each one of these front post doubles. And so you don't notice that one quite as much, but you can still see the difference there. Now front post into the next 4 stitches. Now back post into the next 4. Oops, actually I have one more front post to do. There we go. Now we'll back post. Double crochet. This is one of those patterns that it's actually helpful for you to visualize more so than to count. Once you get used to this pattern, you'll find yourself just doing it naturally, not even really counting anything. So that's why it's good to work blankets with this pattern, because you can make it while watching TV or whatever and not have to put a whole lot of thought into it. Okay, now just like before, we still need to add that half double crochet into that top chain. So we have to do that to maintain our stitch count. And that finishes off row 5. Row 6 is going to be exactly the same as row 3. So we're getting now to the point where we're going to be repeating some of our rows. So we just want to chain 2 like we always do, turn our work, and now we're going to make 4 back post double crochets over the next 4 stitches. And then we'll make 4 front post double crochets into these front post doubles. And so this is all just a repeat now. We'll go over a couple more rows so you can get the feel for what the pattern looks like. Okay, and at the end of the row, again, make your half double crochet. And now here you can see the pattern start to emerge. So we have a total of 2 rows now for this repeat. We just need 2 more rows to maintain the pattern. So we basically want to make 4 rows that match the pattern here. So where we put the back post and the back post and the front post and the front post. And then once we've made our 4, then we're going to change things up, reverse that, in order to create this transition from, you know, this basket weave pattern to this one here. This concludes our demonstration on the basket weave stitch. For more information and for the written instructions for this pattern, please visit the link in the description below. On behalf of BHookedCrochet.com, I'm your host Brittany. Please stay tuned for more free patterns and video tutorials.